Hi foodies, welcome back. Today we're making a really simple meal. We call it fish tea in Jamaica. It really is a soup, but because it's such a thin broth, we call it fish tea. Alright, so first we're starting off with the fish. This fish has been cleaned, however we leave the head and the tail on because that gives a lot of flavor. So we're boiling it now just to get that broth going. We're trying to make a really flavorful broth, so we're gonna add some garlic and some pimento berries and a little scallion, just a little bit, because we're gonna add more seasoning later on. Okay, it's very important that you use the whole fish because the head and the bones, trust me, that's a lot of flavor. And if you use a fillet of a fish, you wouldn't get all that flavor. So what we do is just drain off the liquid and keep it, and then look at that. See? You can tell that it's different. It does have the aroma, but it needs more flavor added later. So I'm using snapper today, guys, and if you know snapper, you know that it is full of bones. So when you're doing fish tea, it's gonna be quite a bit of work. Unless you use just the head, then that's all you have to focus on. But I use the whole fish, so I'm gonna debone it and set the flesh aside because we're gonna use it later. Just throw away those bones, all right? Because they've done their job already. We boiled them and the broth is nicely flavored. Many people don't use the whole fish. They just use the head because it's supposed to be a really affordable dish as well. So they just use the head, but I'm using the whole fish today. And we're gonna be adding yellow yam. If you're familiar with Caribbean cuisine, you know that we need our yam in our soups, right? So that's it, diced up. I keep it in some water till I'm ready. And we are also going to be adding some green banana. Yes, this is optional. Okay, guys, it's really optional, but I like it in there. And we're gonna cut these in slices. And then you have chocho, which is also known as Christophine. With this, you're just gonna cut it in half, kind of core it out like an apple. See there, you get that out. Take off the skin, of course, and then dice it. Okay. So this is, see, just cut it into chunks, really simple. And then some pumpkin. Make sure it's the Jamaican or West Indian type of pumpkin, not that Halloween pumpkin. And of course, we cut that up after we peel it. All right, you don't need a lot of pumpkin in there because it's not like the regular soup that you want to have that rich pumpkin color. All right. If you've seen my chicken soup video, you notice that the pumpkin was cut much smaller because I wanted the pumpkin to mash out and add to color and flavor. But this soup, we don't want it to have that bright pumpkin-y rich color. It's just fish tea. So I cut them in bigger chunks so they'll cook but they won't mash out that much. And the dumpling, guys, I will leave the recipe link below. I love my dumpling in any kind of soup. Some people, when they're cooking fish tea, they do keep it very simple. It's supposed to be pretty simple, but there are just some things I can't do without, and dumpling is one of them, okay? Yeah, so just add those in there and get that going. So when those are like halfway cooked, we will add these. So it's carrots, of course, which are cut in chunks, some chocho and scallion, thyme, there's some garlic and some pimento seeds. All the ingredients will be below in the description box. Okay, and then we're just gonna pour that in. And of course, as I said, I didn't cut them small because I don't want them to mash out in the pot. All right. So guys, yes, this is fish tea, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be, a very thin broth. Okay, we are going to be adding some seasoning. All right, I love the flavor of this, but I do not want the noodles in there because it's supposed to be fish tea and it's gonna be like a really thin broth. So I just strain it to separate, use a sieve to separate the seasoning from the noodles, and then just use the seasoning. Now, if you feel like there's too much ground provision or too many solids in the soup, you can add a little more water, or you can use less than I did. All right, so when you get fish tea on the road, sometimes it doesn't have a lot of these solids in there, but I like to add these, so bear that in mind. See, it's still thin and watery. That's what you want the fish tea to look like, kind of like a tea. So that soup mix that I just added, it has salt, but you need to taste this to see if you need to add regular salt or if you want to add more, okay? I love to add okra to my fish tea. You can add it whole or you can dice it up like this. Some people are not a fan of the, the slimy texture of okra, so for you, you can leave it out or leave it whole. I don't mind because I find that makes it even more delicious. So I'll slice up mine, and of course we're adding this last minute, okay? Because the okra only takes a few seconds to cook. All right? And make sure you taste throughout, guys, to make sure your flavor is on point. And it's not supposed to be a thick soup. Remember that? It's supposed to be thin. And then we're going to go in with the flesh that we had earlier, okay? Add as much as you like, all right? If you had used just the fish head, you wouldn't have all this flesh to add, but that's okay. The fish head really gives a lot of flavor too. So you can go either way, the whole or just the head of the fish. All right, and that's it, guys. That's literally it. If you want to strain it, again, that's fine, but you don't have to. It just depends on who you're serving and if it's for an event, whatever you're doing it for. But it's supposed to be a really thin broth. I'll say it again, not many people put a lot of ground provisions and solids like I did, but it's just a preference, okay? I love to have my yam and banana and dumpling in the fish tea and the okra. Okay, you can leave it out, but I enjoy having that. Just make sure your soup is really thin but super flavorful. That's what you want from a fish tea. Lots of flavor, but not the thickness of like a red peas soup or a chicken soup, right? Really delicious. It's so good as an appetizer. And you can even have it for lunch. It is really, really delicious. And the hint of Scotch bonnet in there, so good. If you want it spicy, you can prick the Scotch bonnet, or you could put tiny pieces of Scotch bonnet. So good, guys. I can't wait for you to tell me what you think. All right, let me know. All right, once you try it. Thanks for watching and take care.